welcome back to the European LCS Super Hot Cruise. Impaler has joined Joe and I here for some analysis for that last match where Fnatic beat the Copenhagen Wolves. Welcome, Impaler. Thanks for joining us. Let's start by breaking down what happened before all the glorious pentakill stuff. The picks and bans, and a first pick for the Copenhagen Wolves in Lucian, which maybe has been their demise if we look a little further in the game.
Yeah, I think the Lucian pick was pretty standard. It's a very first pick AD carry. It's the strongest, I think, to blind pick, and they didn't really expect the Vayne to come out, so that's why they then came in with this lane swap, get the Vayne far ahead, and then he can easily duel the Lucian.
So let's talk about that lane swap a little bit, because possibly the most important thing in the game, that's what got Vayne started. What was good about that from Fnatic, and did the Copenhagen Wolves play that wrong?
I think they both came in with this ward start to try and see where each other starts, and then Fnatic just transitioned to the opposite side, so they got the confirmed lane swap. And both supports were trying to do the same in this game. They're both Blitzcrank and Thresh. They're trying to get early presence roaming around, getting them Mo boots. And I think Fnatic just did it better.
Well, of course, we can't judge too much of this game for the Copenhagen Wolves, but they had two new players coming in, Jungle, Broken Shard, and Søren in the mid. Is there anything you could take from this game that you can judge them by? Or?
I think Broken Shard's calls are really good. When they were in the lane swap situation, they reacted correctly. They got the early dragon, they forced it well, and it was free. Just, I think, Unlimited could have roamed a bit more because he was in lane with the AD carry against nobody, and that's how they got this really messy dive top. I think Unlimited could have recalled and then met up with Broken Shard and fought them at top with Youngbuck.
It's funny, really, because the thing that the Copenhagen Wolves seem to have been doing well the last couple of weeks is having Unlimited roaming around the map, something they may have looked to do better this time. I want to talk about the jungle swap, obviously, bringing Broken Shard in there. For me, Airwax wasn't doing all that bad for the Wolves. What do you make of that switch out of players?
I think Airwax was one of the strongest mechanical junglers in EU West. He played really solid every game, and Broken Shard's back now, but I think Airwax and Broken Shard are similar caliber. Airwax is better mechanically, but Broken Shard's better strategically. So if that's what Copenhagen Wolves need, they need that strategic jungler, then I'm sure it'll work out. But if not, I think Airwax should have stuck around.
All right, well, talking about mechanics, let's actually take a look at Reckless's pentakill. Let's get that up on the screen, because it was the first one here in the Spring Split. Impaler, talk us through how they played this.
Okay, so Fnatic's team comp is all about splitting them up. So as soon as they're all split here, this is prime competition for Vayne to get free kills. So her aim now is just to lock down targets along with Fizz, and when they're spreading out now, after some good hooks, it's just pretty much free kills. She prioritizes most important target, which is here, Woolite, and leaves Broken Shard until Cyanide kicks him in. And after that, Cyanide's like, I got you, I'll tank this, and Reckless just cleans it up for the penta.
Really just impressive. I mean, and we heard it from Reckless himself, and said, you know, once that Vayne gets going, it's very, very hard to actually finish it off. Did have a few problems closing out the game, maybe because of the Vayne itself. You know, you can only get so close without risking really being in danger.
Yeah, I think they couldn't siege very well because they only had the two range people, which were Thresh and Vayne. And Gragas and that were constantly at risk of getting hooked by Blitzcrank. So it took a little bit longer than expected, but who cares? Reckless got more fantasy points, so it doesn't really matter.
Not for me, though, sadly.
Damn. Yeah, he was saying to me before the interview, I didn't want to kill him anymore, but I just couldn't help it. Well, that's what happens when you are so fed, of course. Well, let's move on to what you guys have been talking about at home, because at the start of today's show, we asked you to tweet and tell us which European LCS pro do you think has been the most innovative this split and why. And here are a few of your answers. The first one is from @Cyclohex saying, the most innovative player has to be Soaz. We're pretty much used to Yorick at this point, but the Ziggs top, genius.
Yeah, so Soaz has been for as long as we can really remember. I mean, we go all the way back and we were always talking about Soaz is one of the guys that surprises us a lot of time, brings out sometimes seemingly random picks into this top lane. The Ziggs in there, he was the first one to really do the Yorick, and I think we're going to continue seeing newer styles from Soaz because that's where he seems to really excel, and that's where he seems to have the most fun in the game, when he can pick different options.
Absolutely. The second one is from @NeilW tweets, Kerp, branded as an assassin mid laner, has pulled out a good number of champions over the split. Impaler, what has been your team's experience playing versus Kerp here?
Kerp is considered by our team to be the most patient mid laners. He loved this like assassin pick where he can just hide somewhere. He's willing to wait as long as it takes to get that one kill that can snowball him. And yeah, when he is innovating these new picks, he was really strong on LeBlanc. It's just scary to come up against his mid laners that can burst you out in any second.
It's funny that we talk about Kerp being innovative when he plays on a 1980s trackball mouse as well.
The third one is from @ChuggyHabs. I think it is overpow. He can play melee assassins like Yasuo or playing long-range mages like Xerath and Lulu. A little less this split as it was in the beginning of last, but still something that you can never predict what he will do.
No, and I think that's the danger of a player like that. We saw Mordekaiser back in the spring split that you've always got, even if your enemy targets 3 band swords, you've always got something new to pull out.
All right, well, thank you guys very much for sharing those with us, and you can reach us anytime on Twitter @LOL Esports, and remember to use the hashtag LCS throughout these matches. We'll head back to Quickshot and the Fisio for the last match of the day, but first, SK is fighting to hold on to their 3rd place spot, and their support nRated is having trouble explaining exactly what is causing their recent slump.
I'm a little worried right now. It seems that we are a lot more shaky and we've problems with some standard situations that we've handled quite easily before. I feel like that's a team thing, mostly. I don't think that individually we're playing less or we're training less than before. I don't feel that we're training less efficient as well. It's just overall a thing of the team that we're starting to struggle having the right decisions, making the right calls in the right moments. That's just an overall thing and everyone's standing a little more shaky.
Strong words from nRated. We'll have to see if we can figure out the problems. So, welcome back, everyone. Things are set for our final match of the day with SK Gaming taking on Millennium. These two teams are tied at 1-1 in the head-to-heads. And last week, SK Gaming had a very rough showing. They lost both of their games, one to Rockout, one to Fnatic. And there's actually only one match that separates them in the standings from Millennium. And they don't look like the dominant team that they were at the start of the split or the end of the last split.
So in my opinion, the new picks from SK Gaming, they simply don't work for them. I mean, we can take Freddy as the example. 4.10, or before 4.10, sorry, Freddy was playing champions like Renekton and Aatrox, and he was performing really well. However, as the top lane has now changed, the picks have been different, then we have seen Freddy try his luck on Yorick, we have seen Gragas, without any success for him at all. He simply can't use his split push style, and he's forced into team fights, which was never really the thing where Freddy shined as a player. So I would actually like to see SK Gaming go back to something that worked before. Freddy split pushing, and then you have Jesiz or CandyPanda sitting and wave playing in the mid lane.
Well, we'll see if they can, and you know, if SK can return to a style that works for them, it may be good against Millennium, because for them it's been a story of only working on pick compositions. All split long, we've seen an extreme focus on picking of champions before challenging for objectives. And this is actually a very high-risk, high-reward style of focusing on kills only, as opposed to the likes of like win conditions. But it does mean that Millennium ends up being inconsistent, and they seldom demonstrate a strategic understanding of the game. They definitely need to expand their skill sets if they actually want to break away from the middle of the table.
They are the biggest wildcard team ever. I mean, beat Alliance last week, and then they lose to Copenhagen. It was completely random, and as you just said, there doesn't seem to be much of a strategy, because they need a very good start in every single game they play, otherwise they do nothing. I mean, they've been ahead in gold in 8 out of the 10 wins at 20 minutes, which really shows how important it is for them to start well and just try and snowball the game, because they rely on getting these kills to get the gold. So if they do fall behind in laning phase, we've seen it time and time again, they end up doing nothing because they're too weak to actually teamfight or go for kills, and just end up sitting back and slowly lose the game.
Well, we'll see what they can do. Let's take a look at the starting lineups for this match. On the blue side, it will be SK Gaming. We will, of course, have Steady Freddy playing up there in the top lane. Svenskeren trying to regain some of his former jungle glory. Jesiz in the mid lane with CandyPanda and nRated as the duo.
On the red side, we have Millennium with Kevin in the top lane, KottenX in the jungle, Kerp as the mid laner, Creaton, of course, as the AD carry, and Jree on support.
Well, as it is the final LCS game of the day, we don't want to lose our featured matchup. Today it takes place between both of these teams' AD carries, CandyPanda and Creaton. Both of these guys have had their ups and their downs at different times, but you can't deny that they both have fantastic mechanical ability.
100% agree, but CandyPanda has been looking a little bit shaky together with the rest of SK Gaming lately. However, I do feel like he's actually been the best on the team, even though they've lost some games here. He's a very strong player, and he has actually a very big champion pool for AD carries. I mean, he's played 7 different AD carries already, which is very impressive, considering that we have some AD carries in Europe. He plays like Lucian Caitlyn every single game. Creaton, on the other hand, he's actually looking better than ever now. 4.9 KDA in the last 6 games is very impressive. And he's actually one of the AD carries who sticks to 1 or 2 AD carries. 12 games on Lucian, and Millennium have only won 2 games without Creaton actually playing Lucian here. So very, very important or we might see SK Gaming, focus on taking it away from him.
Well, we'll have to see how that works out, especially with Lucian changes on the next patch.
Oh, yeah.
We're on 4.11, where he's still strong. Before this match begins, let's tally up those votes, see which team that you guys have picked to win. According to lolesports.com, you've actually picked SK Gaming by 57%. That is not a very strong vote, but I do think strategically, SK are a stronger team. On the assumption they don't fall behind in the laning phase, they can beat Millennium.
Yeah, so I think SK Gaming coming as a small favorite here. However, with Millennium, you can never predict anything.
Well, we'll see if Millennium get their hands on Fizz. It is Kerp's most played champion. It's something that we're seeing banned and played fairly often. We've seen Jesiz pull out Syndra last week for the first time. And he did fairly well. I think he went 4-4-1 if memory serves.
Still.
The rest of the team gave up a whole lot of kills.
So it's one of the new champions. And Jesiz, looking back to last split, whenever we saw him play LeBlanc or Zed, SK Gaming would lose games because they didn't know how to play with these assassin types. They could only play with him sitting on Zig.
Nidalee's available.
Nidalee is enabled, but not as an AP anymore. Would be a pretty weird pick at least.
Well, we'll have to see if Comfort maybe helps counterbalance the weaker kit.
We'll see.
We are jumping into picks and bans. This is, of course, SK Gaming taking on Millennium. First ban out of the gate is Fizz. Nobody's surprised by that.
Nope.
Instant reply with Millennium taking off Cassidy. I'll quickly reel off the others. Irelia denied from Kevin. Orianna denied from Jesiz.
So Orianna taking away here one of the farm-heavy champions, and a champion we see very often here in Europe. Irelia, I think actually Europe is one of the only regions who really plays Irelia, and Kevin is one of their top laners who loves to pick her as often as he actually can, and will always do well. So smart ban here, SK Gaming, targeting straight towards him.
I'd put an argument forward that Europe's top lane plays different champions than the rest of the world.
Agree.
We see a lot of
Aatrox
Yorick,
well.
we see a lot of Aatrox. While they feature periodically elsewhere, it's a standard in our region. Anyways, last two bans. Evelyn taken off the table by Freddy, leaving Lee Sin and Elisa's junglers. Lee Sin taken away from Millennium.
So Millennium here trying to put SK in a situation where they need to decide, do we want to take Elise as the only jungler left as the top picks here, or will we take the Twisted Fate, which is a champion Jesiz has spammed in solo queue the last few weeks really to prepare and make sure he can play properly. SK Gaming are fine with giving Elise over to Millennium, so they take the Twisted Fate.
So locked in, going to give a lot of map presence and pressure to SK Gaming. If Svenskeren plays an aggressive jungler, then of course he will have that backup and support that Jesiz on Twisted Fate can offer. So as you've highlighted, Elise available, the last of that trifecta of top tier junglers, arguably the strongest dragon jungler in the game,
100%,
especially early game.
100% agree. I really think she's very good, and I like when people build Spectral Wraith on her, get some early ability power and become very strong in these small fights. Yes, you're squishy, but you have a lot of damage, you have a lot of nuke potential as well, so you work well in a pick comp with this AP build. We just talked about top laners, what they love to play, and no surprise here from Kevin. It's funny because if you actually ask the top laners, why do you play Aatrox? He's like, he's good in lane, and I like the way he dies in the teamfight's late game, and I like to be annoying and just revive again and again and again, because I don't actually do anything else in the late game teamfights.
Well, it definitely plays into Millennium's style. Aggressive champion, capable of helping you secure picks, and of course Elise once again backing that up. Ooh. We do see Jesiz with the Nidalee hover. We talked on the fact top lane Nidalee could be Freddy. Be a lot of poke and very little front line for SK Gaming. It is locked in indeed.
Alright, so SK Gaming falling back to the old style. Might be some new picks here with Twisted Fate for Jesiz, but still, wave clear mid laner, wave clear AD carry with Lucian, and Nidalee now is a split pusher. So he's not supposed to really go into big team fights because you're not building an AP any longer. You're building Trinity Force, Blade of Ruin King. You're very, very strong in the early game, in the laning phase. Once you complete your Trinity Force as well, you can find people and just destroy them one-on-one. But you're not really looking for teamfights here. So Freddy, he's gonna be split pushing like Hotshot GG used to do on Nidalee many years ago.
Many years ago indeed. I do want to highlight though, if there was one team that it was risky to do this against, it is Millennium. Millennium only play engage, in-your-face aggressive champions. With Jree locking in Leona, it is one of his most played champions, 7 games this split, 4 games secured his victories, and he is very good at engaging. One of the best things to do against that range poke and split push, jump on whoever's left.
I really love the way he plays Leona and the way Millennium plays as a team around it. It's whenever someone seems to be slightly out of position, Jree will just try and fire his ult. If he lands it, they take a kill, take an objective, and move on from it. And Seraph being locked in for Kerp here. Cool thing about Seraph is he can perform multiple roles. He works as a pick comp because of your stun and your highest single target burst. And at the same time, he's really good at sieging towers because you have such a long range poke here, so he can work for Kerp here. And if Jree locks down the target, you have so much upfront burst potential with both Corki and Seraph here from Millennium.
So we've highlighted Millennium's comp over on SK Gaming. We didn't mention that Jarvan and Braum were the 2 last champions secured. So there's definitely some disengage and some CC from those 2 champions. But you could argue they're not necessarily the strongest with a Twisted Fate and Nidalee. Maybe in those smaller skirmishes, they can, of course, help secure those kills. But slight mix and match from SK and some more new champions on the table.
Yeah, a lot of new champions here this week. Last week, people actually stuck to what they were used to playing, but now they've had another week, figured out some new stuff here. I do feel like SK Gaming teamfight-wise might be too squishy here. It's very hard for Jarvan as well to become tanky enough to actually tank someone like Corki and Seraph here. So Millennium and teamfight-wise might look to just burst down the target and actually win the fights from there.
Well, we'll find out if they can. You guys at home, we want to ask you, which featured AD carry do you think will lead their team to victory? Tweet at us, at LOL Esports, with hashtag CandyPanda or hashtag Creaton. And there's, of course, CandyPanda playing Lucian, and there's, of course, Creaton playing Corki. We'll check in on those results later in the game. It was a small lead in favor of SK in terms of the victory for the game. Lucian versus Corki, definitely the standard ADCs. And interestingly, with the changes to Lucian, we're not expecting him on 4.12. Should most likely be banned away, which means players like Creaton will need to find something else to play.
Yeah, Corki is a good option here and already locked in with the Seraph, so strong mid-game poke here. We need to see what they can do.
All right, we'll see if they can make that count. We are jumping onto the Rift for the last LCS game of the day. SK Gaming taking on Millennium. SK are looking to stop the rot and regain control of the top of the table position. They held second for so long in the summer split, faltering now to Fnatic. And I think they've got something to prove. You heard nRated in the pregame video. It's a team problem that we need to solve, and we'll see if they've taken steps.
I want to see what Freddy can do late game on Nidalee, because in my head, and also just from watching some of their LCS top laners play here in solo queue or talking a little bit with them, generally the idea is Nidalee is not very strong in the late game. She doesn't scale really well, so you have to like win your laning phase, split push like the monster you can be in these one-on-ones. A bit like the old school Renekton, we could say, in a case. And then teamfight-wise, late game, you don't offer too much. Millennium side, though, we already talked about how they have pick potential with Leona, with KottenX on Elise, and of course Kevin on Aatrox, and we have a stun from Kerp. Also has some pretty good siege potential with Corki and Seraph. So a lot of 2 different options for Millennium they can use in this game.
Of course, we are on 4.11 as we've highlighted. Nidalee was changed in 4.10. Actually received a slew of small buffs in 4.11 just to help counter her power. And just the one thing I do want to highlight is the change to her passive. When she lands either the Javelin Toss or the Trap, it's going to add a small hunted marker to their opponents and gives her additional movement speed when running towards them. We'll need to see how Freddy makes use of that.
It's all about roaming around, chasing, trying to find kills by yourself. Millennium, though, invading on his blue buff, forcing SK Gaming to back away.
Yeah, SK did have vision in the river though, so they did anticipate, they did see it coming. It's Millennium who appeared to be starting the lane swap. You can see that
so smart.
Creaton is up in the top lane, got the support of Jree, and the numbers advantage for Millennium means it is an easy blue stolen away.
So while Aatrox is a good laner, I really like the fact Millennium lane swap to try and shut down Freddy here, make sure he can just get his early Trinity Force and become very strong here, and just rely on the fact that late game Kevin can become a mega tank who just keeps dying over and over and will keep coming back, so you have to kill him again and again, where Freddy won't be able to have the same impact. So I really like the lane swap here from Millennium to try and shut Freddy down.
Well, we'll see how effectively they can make that work. The Corki Leona lane actually takes me back to, I think, Season 2 days.
Oh yeah,
that's
5.
Very, very old school, and a lot of burst, especially once they stack Corki's phosphorus bombs with the sunlight damage.
Yeah, park the passive again.
Gatling gun keeps popping all the passive, so we do have a very brief pause. Jesiz is just explaining what the problem is.
That's pretty good explaining here.
Yeah, Spazzy needs to keep an eye on that, you know. Fancy hands, the Jet Hands video comes to mind instantly.
Yes, we can show our lovely pause screen here.
Because so much has happened.
So many things. I mean, look at this. Millennium, 100 gold ahead already. Game is over.
GG. I mean, you can't come back from that.
Oh, look at Kerp. He's winning mid lane as well.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Really good. Kevin winning the top lane, KottenX winning the jungle. Everyone except actually for the supports.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's decisive. We can just end the game right now.
Yeah.
So we will hopefully get this pause solved relatively quickly. I do think, I just want to highlight once again, Millennium, they really are sticking to their tried and true. You look at the champions with Leona, with Elise, with Aatrox, it's just all in all the time.
Yeah.
And Kerp, he has been known to play those ranged poke champions. His Gragas from Battle of the Atlantic comes to mind instantly. And he can play Assassin, so we need to see how effectively he can contain the Twisted Fate, because Xerath is notoriously immobile.
It could be an easy target if SK Gaming managed to catch him out of position. However, he never really has to leave the mid lane. He can stay in there with the rest of Millennium. It's going to be all about Freddy split pushing, and then Jesiz can help him in the split push if Millennium try to stop him, which is why Millennium now lane swap to make sure it doesn't get strong in his one-on-one. Because teamfight-wise, I really want to see how SK Gaming wants to play them, because they don't really have too much synergy with a Jarvan, and then you have Bruce on Italy top lane and a Twisted Fate. I mean, you don't have like Orianna or something to put the ball on Jarvan. There's no real synergy, and I feel like the teamfights are going to be very hard for them.
Well, we'll see if they can actually play the map. I mean, Fnatic, they return to their double teleport. They return to this split push style of game, I would say 3 or 4 weeks ago. They've been doing it exquisitely in the last few weeks, but they've built themselves back up to that point. If SK can play the map, they theoretically may never need to teamfight, especially with the Twisted Fate ulti that can reveal everybody, buy you the time to move away. But it is a very brave strategy, because you can't always ensure you can do that.
So it's definitely the idea. 2 people split, pushing the side lanes, both solo lanes can go to the side lanes. You have the wave clear mid lane from Lucian, or if Twisted Fate if to keep him there. And once they get ahead in gold, we might see them look for teamfights if they feel they're strong enough. Otherwise, they're just looking to pick off targets with someone like Jesiz or Svenskeren. If you find someone without a flash and just pop gold, Jesiz can join in as well and try and get a few kills.
Well, we'll see if Sven can make it happen. We are back in game for SK Gaming versus Millennium. I definitely think my eyes are going to be on Svenskeren this matchup, because he was such a dominant jungler in the spring split. Single-handedly put SK Gaming on his back and carried them to the mid to late game many times. And unfortunately, has simply not been as terrifying or as present in the summer splits.
Yeah, and it's not going to be easier for him in this game, because remember, Evelyn and Lee Sin were banned away. Elise went over to the side of Millennium. And Elise is so strong, especially with Spectral Wave's first item. If he finds someone like Svenskeren, he will be able to burst him down very, very fast and force him back. So it could be a bit hard for Svenskeren to find the lane he actually wants to gank. And we do see KottenX and Kevin around his mid lane. Oh, Jesiz, you're in trouble.
He has been caught up. Does the cocoon land? Yes, it does. Gets knocked up in the air. First blood secured. Millennium make that look easy.
Almost looked like he was sleeping here and looking elsewhere on the map. Had both Flash and Ghost. None of them were used. Cocoon landed, didn't even try and flash it either. So just ended up dying here in first blood. Over to the side of Kerp and already pushing down the lane.
Strong roam as well from Kevin. Being that buddy system, Freddy gets caught out. There's that little hunted marker we talked about. Freddy takes a massive amount of damage. You talked about Millennium trying to shut down Freddy's Nidalee. He's technically on the same amount of CS as Kevin. Kevin is, of course, has helped and secured first blood.
But it's not about how much farm or, well, it's not about how far ahead Freddy is compared to Kevin at this point. It's about delaying the very strong one-on-one from Freddy and making sure he never really gets too strong to do anything against Millennium. And again, Kevin late game might not do more than Nidalee in terms of damage, but he has a CC and he has his passive to just revive.
Oh, look at the setup here on the mid lane. 3 members of Millennium. Svenskeren does get stunned up. That means he's slowed as well. Kevin is looking for more in the background. KottenX is trying to play. That's a flash burn from Sven. And KottenX forced to flash over the wall. So jungler's flash for jungler's flash. Jesiz jumps in. Kevin still has his passive available. They've caught Freddy out. Now Freddy's in trouble. There's the Unbreakable from nRated, blocking a lot of damage, but the Ignite is ticking on the background. We did see the heal from Freddy coming out, helping him survive. But a lot of summoner spells blown and a lot of champions involved in the mid lane party.
And definitely some miscommunication here from SK. Jesiz flashed forward to land his gold card, and then nobody from SK was even close to being able to follow up. They were very far away, so he ended up basically wasting his flash here and putting the rest of the team in danger, because they tried to follow up way too late because they were out of position.
And keep in mind that Jesiz does not have flash, and there's already been 2 ganks forced to use
Oh,
because he
stun.
gets caught. There's a flash from Jree, stuns him once again. Sunlight passive proc, gold card is up, isn't going to get selected because you've been locked down. And Millennium making it very, very clear which lane they're investing their ganks.
Well, it kind of helps when he uses the flash for nothing. And yeah, you have Leona to lock down the target, Kerp with a long-range stun, you have Elise joining in as well. There's so much CC on the side of Millennium, so if one of them hits, the rest will follow up. Svenskeren still wants this pink ward down, and both AD carries just stuck in the side lanes farming, like we often see now with the lane swaps.
Well, that pink ward is what started off that whole engage in the middle lane. You see nRated, he's going to find Kevin to play with, and this could turn interesting. And you see a trade of skill shots, and nothing else happens. And we do see Kevin, for the first time actually, hinting towards going to a lane. He's been involved in this buddy system roam. He's a level down behind Kevin. Also gone for the double Doran start. Shield and Blade. Freddy on the other side has gone Doran's Ring and Doran's Blade. So an investment into some laning, sustain, and survival. Obviously feeling a little bit of the pressure.
Freddy does have 10 AP from either runes or masteries here, from most likely his runes, or a mix of both. So we might actually see him. Just a guess here, maybe he wants to build AP, and SK actually don't really want to split push, but want to siege towers instead with Twisted Fate, with Lucian and Nidalee. Would surprise me, however, with the changes here, her scaling on Q is not very strong anymore.
They'd have to definitely avoid those solar flares. All right, SK Gaming, they're on the Dragon. It's going low. Kerp has got his ultimate available. That's one. That's two. He's looking for nRated. Dragon does get secured by Svenskeren, but in the background, KottenX is forced to retreat. Should have repel available if he needs to. And you do see the slow getting caught into Jree, and here comes the stun. Freddy's going to have that movement speed increase. That's a flash forward from CandyPanda, only to back away. Nothing secured, but SK get the Dragon.
Okay, they got the Dragon at least there. Freddy was down, he actually moved from the top lane. One of the good things about Nidalee, you can move very fast around the map in your Cougar form here, so he joined in for the fight, got the Dragon. Nobody died, however, from Millennium. And another weird flash. I mean, CandyPanda flashing forward, everyone from Millennium were out of range.
Yeah, we do see SK, they've secured the blue buff. Jesiz,
still no
flash.
flash.
I think you're in trouble, son. Can Kerp land it? I apologize and I take it back. Jesiz is able to just walk away. Kerp may have actually used his stun a moment or two ago. Unable to lock him down for another kill. So Millennium, with the 2 kills to the name and the CS advantage, they are even on gold, despite having lost that last Dragon.
Up in this top lane, Creaton doesn't really even want to hit the tower. He's been freezing the lane for a long time and just picking up farm for himself. Now he actually pushes down. And you do see the rest of Millennium, because they have the dual lane up in this top side, they kind of take over this blue buff as their own, and SK Gaming can then try and take Millenniums away if they want to, and we'll get this one over to Kerp. Might see them try and almost dive onto Freddy here. He's only level 5 up in this top lane. Jree is nearby.
KottenX has got a lot of hit points as well if he wants to go that route. Do you see Jree eating a javelin toss? Nowhere near the same level of damage that we were experiencing on patches prior to 4.10. We do see a Ruby Crystal picked up from Freddy.
Should be Phage, so he will go into Trinity Force. Just wanted the Thorn's Ring, some additional AP and mana regen in the laning phase.
Making sure he can keep those heals up, of course, in the laning phase. You see how much aggression Jree has been putting down on him, really getting in his face. So the lanes look to be resetting, or look to be standardizing, I think is the word I'm looking for. Kevin going to be doing battle with CandyPanda and nRated in the bottom lane. He's slightly behind in CS, does have that assist to his name. No additional items outside of his Dorans secured. Still has his Blood Well available. Freddy on the other side, playing a little more aggressively actually. He shoved that wave up quite far. And now with Creaton in lane, he's decided to back away.
Yeah, so because Creaton was sitting and freezing the lane for such a long time, he actually never had a chance to go back and shop, which meant once he pushed up the wave to the tower and Freddy joined in, it was the time for Freddy to shop. And therefore for Creaton to shop, so Freddy managed to get some farm and now roaming once again on this Nidalee.
Yeah, look at the mid lane. KottenX was making a move, and obviously Freddy was not there to play. So Kerp and KottenX coming up against potentially 3 members as Jesiz has found himself back in this mid lane. And Freddy, once he shoved that wave out, was roaming around, maybe trying to set something up, decides or is unable to find any targets or objectives.
Very early cooldown reduction boots for Jesiz here, so looking to get his ulti off as much as possible and make sure he has as low as cooldown as he can get for it, and just Gonna see him try and roam around. It wouldn't surprise me to see distortion as well very early.
Well, you've seen how quickly SK Gaming were to respond to the aggression in the mid lane and then also invade for Dragon and for Blue. So nRated is now going to find Kevin. nRated does not have access to his ultimate, and Kevin times that Dark Flight so well. Just gets out of range of Svenskeren's flag and drag. But still, not spending much time in lane at all.
Oh, once again though, Millennium sending both KottenX and Jree up to join Creaton here to push down the wave and try and force Freddy away. There's a big wave here, they're going to deny him, so it's very important. And they're going to get the tower here, so some CS lost, some experience lost as well for Freddy, just by the fact they quickly sent KottenX and Jree to assist Creaton. It's a good move here to continue to try and shut down Freddy.
So it'll be interesting to see how Millennium, or Kevin in particular actually, continues this lane swap scenario. We've seen, you know, the range for experience on minions changed in 4.10 to help alleviate the level denial when you're in these 1v2 scenarios. But Kevin has opted to jungle, to gank, and to avoid the lane the vast majority of this game. I really believe he's only been in lane for maybe 1 or 2 minutes. And both teams are going to trade towers, so we'll see how effective Kevin can be with his fairly frontline Aatrox. Only building a Vamp Scepter yet, so not exactly going to tanky route.
No, but he is actually going to build Blade, so we'll try and focus on holding his own against Freddy in a split push. It's what we normally see from Aatrox here in Europe. Blade, first item every single time, gives so much sustain, and at the same time, it makes you stronger in these one-on-ones here. And you don't really need the early tankiness because of your passive, and you will then get it later on. And he's actually able to push down the wave here against Freddy, who didn't shop for a long time and is out of mana.
Well, we do see now the lanes have now normalized. Top laners appear to be battling against one another. You can see with CandyPanda and nRated about to rejoin the lane with Creaton and Jree. We may see these straight up head-to-head battles. And, you know, both of these teams are actually, I'm actually going to say they're quite desperate for wins. And my justification is they're both at 2 wins and 4 losses for their last 2 weeks of play. So picking up victories, especially for Millennium, who are 1 game behind SK in the standings, if they pick up a win now, they close that gap and make a good shot at a higher seed for playoffs. So this is a very big, important confidence game for both of these squads.
So now when Rocket actually lost the game to Subaru Crew today, you want to make sure you get your win so you can overtake them in the standing, because they are so close. These 4 teams, SK Gaming, Millennium, Rocket, and Subaru Crew, who funny enough also played each other, but bit of a fight around this blue buff here. SK want to try and contest it. Millennium with a lot of wards around though.
A lot of wards and a lot of threat from Jree. The moment SK step into that tight channel, they run the risk of just getting engaged on it. Look at the poke. Kerp is landing multiple Arcano pulses, one after the other, and dropping them low. So blue buff is
did Jesiz get it?
I'm not quite sure. We'll keep an eye on that. As in the background, nRated has just been completely obliterated.
Jesiz did actually get the blue buff with his wild card here, so good job by him. Still, they have to sacrifice nRated. As soon as Millennium saw a chance to engage, they went for it, picked up a kill. And it's what we talk about with this pick burst potential they have. Catch one target, instant killing.
Look how well Kerp is doing at controlling the tempo of the fight, but he's low on mana. Keep that in mind. We'll see how effectively he can regain. Of course, using that passive on the auto attack.
Oh, a bit too short.
Little bit too short. Nobody's seen that one. Kerp, right of the arcane, proving that distance was not in his favor. So tower secured for SK in reply for Dragon. SK Gaming secure a blue buff, but they give up a kill in the process. If Jesiz can take advantage of the mana regen and maybe the cooldown reduction, that'll work out. Knockup doesn't connect from Kevin. That was all just a little too awkward from both Kevin and Freddy, and nobody goes down.
Very aggressive dive here from Freddy, jumping in towards him as soon as he got him fairly low. Remember, of course, his Q is an execute, so will do more damage in Cougar form. His takedown. Is that double?
It is takedown on the Q, javelin toss and takedown. And of course, the W is
I was takedown.
bushwhack and
I got it.
pounce.
Don't worry.
You got to trust yourself more. But you've actually got to get in range. And of course, for Kevin, I think he was overestimating the leap from that pounce. Right, Jree, Solar Flare should be available in just a few seconds. There we go. The light is now on. There's not a lot of mana for Freddy. So if they can catch him out in human form, he'll be in trouble. But the support of Svenskeren is close by. Spirit of the Elder Lizard as his first item. will have some damage, but not the strongest tankiness. This is going to turn into a 3 versus 2. Knockup does not connect. Freddy is locked in place. Instantly, Millennium back away, afraid of Kevin's low hit point total.
And also because Jesiz was out of mana in the mid lane, he was looking to recall, wouldn't be able to join in with KottenX showing himself. SK Gaming wisely just backs away. Freddy's out of mana too. Even though he's not built AP, you still need your mana.
So much slower start to the game here between SK and Millennium. CandyPanda again using the culling to push the wave out. You actually notice that CandyPanda's rushed Blade of the Ruined King different from Lucian in the previous game. If we look at the itemization, Lichbane completed for Jesiz, so movement speed as well as a large CS difference. Kerp is significantly further ahead.
Yeah, looking very, very strong. We have to remember, of course, Jesiz.
He was camped.
He was camped in the mid lane. It was actually his own fault. The first one, he had both summons, didn't use any of them to try and dodge around the cocoon, ended up dying. Then he wasted his flash afterwards and just got ganked once again. And another kill went over to Millennium and even more farm to Kerp here. But actually today, we've seen Seraph a few times. Always been doing well in the laning phase and then scales really well into the late game.
We'll see if Kerp can make it count for Millennium, because late game decision making for Millennium is questionable. You know, they've had games where they've had great late game calls. Against Alliance last week, if memory serves, it was like a 52 or 53 minute game, and you know, Kerp was playing Fizz. They had some great flanks, they had some great engages. But on the same token, they sometimes take a while to realize where their power spike is. Kevin is taking a lot of harassment from Freddy. And just look at the speed that Freddy has, dashing in and out and around.
Again, it's the old school split push Bruce and Nidalee style, where you just hit the tower a few times, you go back, you clear the wave, and you're so hard to gank because you can just keep jumping away. Once you build, again, he already has the Phage actually, even get the speed up. It's just so annoying to deal with. Millennium tried to shut it down with the lane swap, didn't really work here because Freddy was actually able to pick up quite some farm, and we now see him force a lot of focus on KottenX to try and come up and stop him from taking the tower, which means the SK Gaming now, in a different lane, will have the numbers advantage.
Well, we'll see if they can make their count. You did see the vote, which featured AD Carry as the better champion and should come out ahead. And votes for Creaton. You know what, his form has been great. His Lucian last week and the week prior really were top notch. And it's the first time, I've felt that Creaton is getting back to sort of last year levels of performance prior to breaking his hand and putting it inside Jree.
Well, you do often break your hand if you put it inside Jree.
So, nevertheless, tower secured for SK Gaming, 3-1. 2 minutes before Dragon is up. SK still yet to put a kill on the board.
Simply playing the split push game. So they keep Jesiz in the mid lane, so he can either use his ulti to top lane and help Freddy, or down this bottom lane to help CandyPanda. Also really explains the Blade of the Ruined King into Ghost Blade CandyPanda is building. So he is very strong in these 1-on-1s, 2-and-2s, and therefore can keep split pushing up. Jree coming in for the engage though, and it missed.
Very easily thwarted. The dash away from CandyPanda. It's not over yet. Blue buff is up. Last time blue buff was available, Jesiz stole it away, but he's split from the side of his team. Keep your eyes on the solar flare from Jree. This is how Millennium will get themselves in. Svenskeren is actually starting the fight. Glacial Fissure gets thrown down. That doesn't lock off all of Millennium from engaging. Down in the back line, Kevin teleports in. He's secured one. That's nRated going down. We see the pew 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 from Kerp. Not landing too many shots. Kevin forced out of the fight before he gets blown up. Eye of Destruction comes down, and Freddy going to use the heal and get Summoner heal as well. End up trading 1-for-1, but they got the teleport, the flash, and the blood well from Kevin.
So many low members though from SK Gaming. It took a lot of damage while they were taking down Kevin here. A bit of a messy fight where Millennium were trying to disengage and then Kevin teleported in and didn't really know if they wanted to go in or back away. End up trading 1-for-1, and blue buff went to Millennium though.
Secured by Kerp. That Glacial Fissure from nRated
was perfect.
Did so much for preventing Millennium to engage and move around. That is a very big slow in that very tight corridor. So wave clear comes up from Kerp. He's going to defend the tower for the time being. The rest of SK Gaming are going to back away. Millennium still hold, I'm going to say even in gold with SK despite being a few hundred down. Dragon is up. And it feels like if Millennium wanted to rush it, they may be able to secure, but doesn't look to be the call right now.
We do have Trinity Force completed on Freddy, so now's the point where he's really, really strong. A bit like Aurelia, big power spike once you complete the Trinity Force. And I don't think Kevin can do anything against him in this one-on-one, especially not if Jesiz stays in the mid lane and can just join in.
Well, very easily secure Dragon here for Millennium. Going to give them the momentary gold lead. 2 of 3 in their favor. CS-wise, even in the AD carry role, Kerps with a strong 40 CS lead. Kevin having a tough time, had a tough time actually, against Freddy in the lane phase, and took a very, very long time to try get to a traditional CSing point.
And actually decided to not complete his blade as the very first item. He needed a Giants build as well to be a bit tanky in case a fight should break out, and he knows he can't really deal with Freddy, so he needs some tankiness now, so he's going to be stronger in the team fights instead.
Oh, Solar Flare's coming up. It's going to be flashed away from CandyPanda. Now Jree's the one that's in trouble. He gets knocked into the air. Look at the positioning for nRated. Unbreakable. It's going to block so much damage. Now Kevin is actually... no, that was Kerp that teleported in. Instantly forced to flash away. Creaton takes one more shot. Jesiz with the kill. Now he's the one that manages to land the gold card before the Blades of Torment go out. Svenskeren is low. Here comes the right of the Arcane. Third shot doesn't connect, which means nRated gets away with his life. It's a bit of a sloppy fight as Kerp is gonna look for the Arcana Pulse. Dashed away from CandyPanda. 2 for 4. Millennium losing a lot more.
Look how strong CandyPanda is in these mid-game fights. Ghostblade is completed together with the Blade, so he's just so strong. The real power spike for Lucian in these mid-game fights. And we saw it. Millennium tried to set up something. We're just going to see it again here. CandyPanda is going to beat the target. He has flash. Good reaction time here, flashing away from the Solar Flare. And then they turned around instantly. Jesiz from the mid lane teleports in. Kerp tries to do the same thing with his teleport, but they already lost Jree, and now it's just SK Gaming chasing on, and Jesiz winning the one-on-one with Creaton down his bottom lane.
Yeah, instantly blowing him up before getting taken down himself. A little bit extra damage from those Blades of Torment than we were expecting.
So there's a lot of damage from Kerp here. He's left in the back. Kevin is going to be the target. But CandyPanda with double buff and again Blade and Ghostblade can just go and clean up, pick up 2 kills, and looks very, very strong now.
It was actually very good to see him instantly flash that Solar Flare. And again, to talk about CandyPanda in previous weeks, especially in the laning phase, he seemed somewhat lethargic when it came to getting caught by CC or spells. And, you know, sometimes got caught uncharacteristically.
It's something we have seen a lot of today, actually, where a lot of people save the flash until they get hit by the CC and will try and flash in the very end and they just end up dying.
It's too late.
So either you do it instantly, if you feel like there's any chance you might die, use your flash, make sure you don't go down. Because if he'd been locked up here by Jree, Jesiz might not have been able to join in time before CandyPanda was dead.
Well, he did manage to get out alive that time around, and SK Gaming actually handling themselves well in that team fight. We were worried about their potential to do so.
It wouldn't even... Yeah. You're right, you're right.
I mean, we talked about it in Picks and Bans, how Millennium, in theory, should have stronger team fights, and they were fighting what was eventually a 5v4. I mean, Freddy was not present that whole time.
True. I mean, it was definitely a team fight.
Yep. But they were split.
However, for Millennium, it was... The whole setup was supposed to be a dive, which went wrong. They missed the ult from Jree, the very important engage. And then it was just SK Gaming chasing them. So yeah, they won the team fight here. Lucian is so strong at this point, and Jesiz won the one-on-one against Creaton. So full credit to SK Gaming. But we have seen the idea about their comp where we split pushing and always reacting to what Millennium is going to do. If they send 2 members up top lane to kill Freddy, well, we either go 4 members bot lane and take the tower, or we just go with Jesiz up top lane and make sure Freddy can win. Because look at his CS now. Kevin has been a non-factor in this one-on-one.
Yeah, really struggling. He has finished that Blade of the Rune King. We were talking about a moment ago. Only got the Giant Spell as his tanky item. Quickly look down at some of the rest of the itemization. You of course got the Spirit of the Spectral Wraith on KottenX. We'll get to that in a second. Solar Flare catches Freddy out. He gets dove on, but Glacial Fish is going to interrupt the Zenith Blade from Jree. Flash away from Svenskeren. He still has Cataclysm. But it's Millennium that are unable to secure kills and SK defend the tower.
See the style though of Jree once again. As soon as someone from SK shows himself, Jree will try and land his ult and engage with the rest of the team. Didn't manage to kill anyone. Flash was blown by Freddy, however. Now SK Gaming actually going in towards the blue buff.
Another blue buff combat. This time around, SK have got position. They definitely have control of Millennium's jungle. Just very quickly, Hourglass as well as his Distortion Boots picked up for Jesiz, as you were talking about earlier in the game. CandyPanda's got a BF sword. Let's see how this wave clear gets handled by Kerp. I'm not sure it's going to be enough, unfortunately. He himself has got his death cap completed, and Creaton working towards an Infinity Edge. So still room for growth as far as power spikes are concerned. Millennium may be able to sneak this away. No one from SK is really close enough to defend super effectively.
Well, coming in, teleport was used by Freddy to defend the top lane. which Kevin has pushed all the way down here. The trade actually mid tower for the second tier tower in the bottom lane. And SK Gaming still just splitting up as much as possible, trying to use the fact that Millennium is stuck in the mid lane and just take down these outer turrets.
Well, this is the first time that Freddy has really had a sizable lead in a few weeks, and called him out in the pregame and said if SK can return to a split push style of play where Freddy is pushing a side lane, that's how SK can try to regain control. They've got a small gold lead, and you just have the feeling that they're dictating the tempo of this game.
100%.
They've been moving around, they've been making the invades, and Millennium have been reactive.
Millennium tried to set things up just before here. They tried to set up the dive on CandyPanda in the bottom lane. It backfired for them. So now SK Gaming, once they picked up a one-hit team fight, picked up some extra gold, has then been controlling the map and now making sure they're the ones moving around here and waiting to see what Millennium is actually doing before they're trying to counter it. And now Dragon is alive. All 5 members from both teams looking to fight here.
Very importantly, Creaton does have his Infinity Edge completed. Let's take a look at who's going to win this poke war. Twisted Fate and Nidalee spamming out spells. Kerp is going to be looking to get some Arcano Pulses down. Now, nRated with Braum and Glacial Fishers arriving a little late to this party. Culling used very early for CandyPanda. A little bit of damage in Jree, nothing really noticeable. There's the solar flare. They've caught CandyPanda. KottenX is looking from Kevin. That's actually a flash as well as dash. Kevin instantly gets popped. They've traded jungler for potentially top laner. It is 1-for-1 as Freddy secures the killing blow. Now KottenX on the back foot. Jree is the next target. We do see Creaton in full retreat. KottenX forced the flash. He's taken down. That's a 3-for-1. And SK kite and fight and make Millennium bite the dust.
So this team fight here for Millennium was pretty weird already from the engage. Once we get the replay, we can just try and notice how Millennium move as a team once they engage here. We see the replay. Notice Jree. He wants to go in and land the ult, but instantly as he fights, he backs away. He doesn't even want to commit to this one. Kevin jumps in by himself. The rest of Millennium are staying back here, dealing with Svenskeren. But Jree is supposed to be the guy who follows up his own ult to help Kevin shut down a target. He pops it and walks backwards. And the rest of Millennium here, as soon as Kevin actually died the second time, SK Gaming were just so much stronger. So I'm not sure if it was miscommunication, but definitely seemed like Jree, like, I'm going to engage, and they're like, never mind, I'm not even going to go, and just backed away. So it ended up being a very weird team fight from Millennium's side.
Yeah, not working in their favor. They lose the Dragon, they lose a few kills, and SK were attempting the Baron, but I think wisely backed away. Kerp was throwing down a whole bunch of spells from the safety of the wall. Managed to back them away from that objective. So SK grow their lead to 2.5 or 3,000 gold. I do math good, sure. five towers to 3. And again, it's just SK Gaming with the plays. One thing that I do want to highlight is SK have really tried to control the blue buff from Millennium's side. Yeah. You know, I think the last 3 spawns they've done battle over and look to steal or look to fight, arguably to keep Kerp down, and it should be respawning in a few minutes' time. So let's see if SK continue that style of game. Now, CandyPanda's got himself an Infinity Edge. He's so much further ahead than Creaton in build and damage.
Going towards his late game power spikes now, and Svenskeren actually looking for the fight. Jesiz is coming in as well.
Well, Destiny is up. There's the gate. Instantly solar flare, and look at the damage.
Wow!
With the right of Arcane, destroys Jesiz. You signal where you're going to land, and they combine the damage. Svenskeren is the next target. He's going to manage to dash and move away. Flash just became available. And then a long-range shot from Kerp. That's an Arcano Pulse. This means there's no smite available for SK Gaming. Freddy does not have a massive amount of AP, and those javelin tosses are not going to be too threatening. We do see once again Eye of Destruction from Kerp, connecting, slowing Millennium down. Culling is used just to dissuade Millennium. Jree forced out of the fight, has no flash available.
They need to deal with CandyPanda. They have to go for CandyPanda here. He's going to destroy them otherwise.
We'll see if they can. None of Right of Arcane hits yet. Finally, third shot connects, but it's not the greatest. Kerp on the back line. Baron is still going low. It is secured by Millennium. Jree is going to get away with his life, and Millennium counter the gank phenomenally.
It was just beautiful setup, first of all by Kerp, landing the stun as soon as Jesiz arrived. He couldn't even outlast, and then him and Creaton together with the long-range poke just destroyed him. Chased on Jree, managed to get the engage here, and then around the Baron, switching the focus over to CandyPanda. As soon as he moved a bit too close here, Kerp got a lot of damage onto him and made sure SK couldn't actually try and engage in the Baron pit. It's a very good move here, even though it was more, I wouldn't even call it a mistake by SK Gaming, because it's very hard to predict such a well-timed stun from Kerp.
Yeah, it's actually something that you and I were discussing earlier this week when you're playing against a Twisted Fate, just how easy it is to deal with his ultimate if you have hard CC, because he telegraphs where he's going to land, and it's fairly easy to time with the animation of the circle of the cards, and Millennium just really turned that around. Jesiz had his Hourglass available and couldn't even pull off the Messiah that we like to call it.
And Millennium have a lot of options to CC him as soon as he comes in. You don't need a point-and-click stun, it won't work. You need
a travel time connected stun.
Exactly, so like you have the stun from Kerp, you have Cocoon from KottenX, Kevin can jump in, you have Jree with his Solar Flare to try and set it up as well. A lot of different options here for Millennium to try and kill, just unless he just hourglasses instantly as he arrives.
So for the first time in 30 minutes, Millennium have the theoretical advantage in the game. They've been dancing to SK's pace, and they've been moving at SK's time. How do they make use of Baron buff? It is ticking away. They've used a minute, 2 minutes of the buff already, and they look to be setting up a siege. They've got no minions to work with. There's a lot of wave clear on the side of SK with Jesiz and the culling from CandyPanda in a moment or two. And there's the culling down. Solar Flare catches nRated. Nobody else dives. Millennium content to just throw down their long-range ultimates. They're not the longest of cooldowns. CandyPanda forced away from the fights.
Very low. Kerp already doing so much damage. I mean, really into haunting guys now to even get even more magic penetration and just trying to snowball now with this Baron buff. And Millennium staying with 5 members. They know Kevin won't be able to deal with Freddy in a one-on-one, so they keep him with the team if they want to go for a dive.
And you've seen how Millennium deals with an SK Gaming engage. They simply win the fight. Eye of Destruction going out, managing to catch 2 members of SK Gaming. You see the Cocoon connect, but there's no ultimate from Kerp to squash him. So Millennium just going to wave clear, SK doing the same, and slowly but surely they are getting this tower down. Creaton on Corki, not the longest of ranges, but when you've got Baron and regen and another minute before it wears out, hey, rinse and repeat. Look at that burst from Kerp.
So much damage. CandyPanda is way too low. They can't fight for this one. SK forced to back away. It's a very nice poke here for both Creaton and Kerp. And Jree always sitting ready. In case someone is out of position, he will try and go for you and get the kill.
Well, patient play from Millennium. They've got a few minions to work with. Going to get some damage on the inhibitor turret. We do see once again, CandyPanda forced to use the culling. That's back-to-back cooldowns basically on availability, just to defend the wave. Freddy also being quite cheeky with that bushwhack, managing to, or trying to help kill the conga line of minions, as well as getting some additional damage elsewhere on the side. So, again, SK defending. Baron buff being very close to wearing off. Freddy's got caught. Can they burst him down? That's 1, that's 2. Third shot connects! Holy Kerp, that damage. Svenskeren locked in the Cataclysm, forced to flash away. Kevin now going to lose his blood well as he's popped underneath the turret. We do see nRated dashing over to Jesiz. He ended up trading 1 for 1, but it's support for top laner, and there's a massive minion wave in the bottom lane.
Should be able to get the tower down here in the bottom lane, but Jree, once again, he goes in for the engage, ended up dying for it, but at least they trade top laner for support, and now this bot lane tower will go down in favor of Millennium, and now actually in head and goal.
Definitely a trade that Millennium were looking for. They are now going to secure a dragon, which they haven't really had the greatest of control over for the last few spawns. Earned themselves a whole bunch of gold to spend, and looking to take control of the game.
Very important for Millennium. Kevin is actually starting. Very sorry, I've been casting 4 games. My voice is pretty destroyed. But Kevin
like
now,
a personal problem.
Kevin now finally gets actually some tanky items, because he went Blade first item, which meant for the first team fight he was just very easy for SK Gaming to take down. I'm not even sure if Blade was the best option for him, because he knew he couldn't really deal with Freddy anyway in the one-on-one, so there's no real reason to build a Blade. Could have gone straight tank if he wanted to. Now he got some tankiness and can actually start to jump into these fights here and be as annoying as possible. Freddy trying to do the same thing.
All right, we'll see if Kevin can make that work. Jumping into a Cataclysm, not the smartest of options.
Probably not.
He pulled in the inhibitor dive a few minutes ago. But of course, going to be a little while before he's got that Bloodwell available again. And SK Now they're on the defensive. Now they're looking to change the momentum of the game. Look at Freddy split pushing in the bottom lane. He shoved the minion wave out. There's no inner turret to take. The last inner turret standing for Millennium is in the middle lane. And SK Gaming have congregated around this area of the map. Once again, getting some vision from the blue buff area of Millennium. Maybe looking to create another pick or another fight. Just don't land Twisted Fate Ultimate in front of Jree or
In front of anyone from Millennium, actually, unless you pop your Outlast instantly and won't even get your card off. Kind of destroys the purpose of using their ulti from Jesiz to engage the fights. Otherwise, they're gonna need someone like Svenskeren on Jarvan to jump in and hope the rest of the team can follow. But when you have Twisted Fate, you're normally not looking to dive on the backline. You're actually looking to kite backwards as much as possible with your AD carry, and then you time it so you land your gold card, and your AD carry switches over to the target you just stunned, and you just try and burst down whoever gets close, and you just keep kiting backwards. Which could be a bit of an issue now when you have Jarvan who wants to go forward, and he's only gonna buy time, actually.
Well, aggressive moves from Millennium in that middle lane. KottenX was trying to set something up, and CandyPanda just used that relentless pursuit to dodge away from the cocoon. Again, CandyPanda throwing down the culling. He's really not hesitating to use that cooldown at multiple occasions. Some good damage onto KottenX, but look at Kevin. He simply cannot deal with Freddy. Freddy's now going to start getting some attack damage onto the turret. Kevin lands on Freddy and they trade, but it's Freddy that once again comes out victorious.
Over and over, can just heal himself. Has the takedown now that Kevin is fairly low. Kevin without the passive, of course, still waiting for it to actually spawn. But CandyPanda with the calling here before. I mean, once you complete it in Vintage, you don't really want to be using your calling in teamfights. You actually just want to auto-attack as much as possible. It could really explain the reason for him to just constantly wave clear with it.
Well, let's see if it works out in his favor. Freddy, no one is moving to deal with him. Kevin is doing the best he can to kill these minion waves, but the inhibitor turret is going low. Rest of Millennium are still grouped up in that middle lane. Jree getting closer and closer to having that flash available. And just from knowing Jree and how he plays Leona, once it's up, you can bet your bottom dollar that he will jump into a team fight the moment a target presents itself, especially because everyone's fairly squishy. I mean, Svenskeren, yeah, he's got a fair amount of tanky stats, but
not really enough now to deal with someone like Kerp and Creaton if they just instant focus him down. But again, SK trying to do the same thing with Jesiz and CandyPanda to take down whatever tank jumps in, if it's Jree first or Kevin first against them. And notice here, Freddy actually recalls, he does have teleport, but there's a pink ward. Nice ult here from Jesiz to actually spot the Baron, but he's still going down very, very fast.
Oh, they're going to have to commit to a full dive if they want to try to steal this away.
He can steal it.
He's dropped the flag. In comes the Destiny. Jesiz is down. We did it again. Svenskeren's on the background now. He's going to land the Cataclysm before being knocked all the way up into the air. Kevin is going to be reviving from that blood wall. As nRated is going to stand behind me. Dashes over to a teammate. KottenX is low. Creaton is low. Freddy and CandyPanda looking to do the damage. Freddy's got caught out. He's slowed on the back line, but the movement speed admittedly is so difficult to lock down. They are kiting so well. That's one. Freddy's got the second. Now he's knocked in the air. Creaton with the help of KottenX is going to secure another kill. CandyPanda's on the retreat. He sidesteps the Arcana Pulse before getting one, before getting two. Kerp is going to shut him down. Now it's all on nRated versus Kerp. The stun's going to come out in a second. nRated's going to hold him in place. There's a 1,000 HP. 5 versus 4. nRated with the Moustache Menace finishes the fight.
But damn, Jesiz, you already tried once, you got punished. Don't do it the second time here. Millennium, once again, we're just gonna see, actually he's already dead by now, doesn't matter. Rest of SK stays and keeps fighting. CandyPanda and Freddy are both so strong at this point here. In these small skirmishes, we actually see Freddy jumping in, gets the takedown. Rest of Millennium is too low to really commit because CandyPanda was left untouched in the back line with his Vintage, with his blade, and just destroying people. Notice here, Creaton is the first target. Well, KottenX, you want to join in? Easy peasy, I'm gonna kill you too. And Kerp might take down CandyPanda, but what does it matter when you have nRated, the manliest man of SK Gaming?
Well, manages to finish out that fight. Messy, chaotic, and somewhat scary for Millennium when you consider they were 5v3, albeit with low HP. And they did, of course, get pushed around. So this game is not over. 14-14 on kills, 5-5 on towers, even on gold. And it just comes down to skill shots.
It did, and also the focus in the team fights, because Freddy was the guy they went for instead of CandyPanda, even though Freddy's now building a lot of tanky items, so he's going to be even harder to take down, and CandyPanda was left by himself to just kill people, whoever came close to him. And they've actually managed to win the fight, of course, also with the help from good guy nRated.
Yeah, Jesiz, you can argue the effectiveness of that dive. Can't deny the fact that while they were focusing him down, it allowed the rest of SK to sort of get in there and put some damage down themselves.
Very true.
Saying, of course, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
I'm going to say hashtag worth, we won the team fight.
Won the team fight with one man left. You could argue how effective that is, but nevertheless, SK, they do get once again control this bottom half of the map. Grab themselves another dragon, 3 of 6. They retake control of the gold lead, and there's 4 Banshee's Veils on their back pockets. Now, Banshees are great at blocking spells, but Kerp on Xerath and Corki being played by Creaton can pop Banshee's Veils incredibly effectively. It's just going to be a matter of time before Millennium look to pop those little bubbles and allow Jree to jump into the fight.
Still surprised at how well SK Gaming has actually been playing teamfights in this game here. Freddy's been doing a very good job on nRated, being or trying to be the tank. Jesiz has been the guy starting the fights, not the best way, but still he managed to start them. And then it's just been all about CandyPanda, to be honest. Full credit to him on Lucian. Every single teamfight, it was all about CandyPanda destroying people. And he was our featured matchup.
He was, and it was Creaton that ended up won the public opinion. It was 59% in favor of Creaton winning this matchup, but it's CandyPanda that's 7-1-7 on 4.11 Lucian. Cocoon did connect with Freddy. Well, that's a whole lot of hit points to burn through. And the only percentage HP damage consistent for the time being is Kevin with that blade. So Culling once again being thrown down. KottenX takes a couple of shots, shrugs it off, walks away. Baron is up, and appears the European Baron dance will occur today.
Millennium really need to fix their focus in these teamfights. It's the reason they've been losing them, because they keep going for the wrong targets. Often it's either nRated or Svenskeren they take down first. Fair enough, jumps in your face, you have to kill the first guy. But then you need to get to CandyPanda, otherwise he's gonna destroy you, and it's happened twice now.
SK in full retreat mode because Freddy was in the bottom lane without his teleport available. They were not looking to be engaged upon. Jree is getting very close to having his flash available once more, and has been the primary initiator for his team. When he locks down the right targets and the rest of his team engage correctly, they win. But that has not been the case for many of these fights. Approaching a super late game once again, and it's difficult to say who's going to come out in the lead. It is still very, very even.
I mean, Twisted Fate becomes very strong as well in the late games. It was Zero, of course. We just see the poke already from Kerp in this game. And CandyPanda, it's not like he's gonna get outscaled by Creaton, so he will keep being insanely strong in these late game teamfights as well. Both top laners, not now, basically tanks.
Well, look at this. Svenskeren is looking to engage. That's a 3-man knockup. He locks up 4 inside the Cataclysm. Glacial Fissure knocks up more from Millennium. Now Kevin's on the retreat. Dark Flight's out of the Cataclysm. Millennium are trying to run away. Creaton eats a gold card as Freddy is trying to execute on the sidelines. Svenskeren is the first victim of the fight as Jesiz throws down the Zhonya's Hourglass. They've now traded. Kevin is down. Jree is down. Right of Arcane does connect.
Survives.
It doesn't kill Freddy. 1 for 2, and SK Gaming are looking at getting the tower. They take it, they back away.
Such a good engage by Svenskeren here. Knocked up 4 members, used the Catalyst afterwards and forced them to flash away. And SK Gaming are outplaying Millennium in these teamfights here.
Oh, this is a teleport from Kerp. He's maybe in a little bit of trouble. Kerp lands. Eye of Destruction goes down. CandyPanda is looking to be the focus. He manages to lifesteal before losing KottenX in the trade. Now Freddy with GA and a bajillion hit points is making Millennium's life difficult. We did see a retreat from Jesiz, and Baron appears to be off the cards with both junglers being down for the moment.
And with CandyPanda dying, so very nice teleport by Kerp, but still, SK Gaming, they're winning the team fights. Always seem to have the right focus here, getting down a few members, make sure they can survive. I mean, Freddy was the target at first. He flashed over to the Wraith camp and made sure he stayed alive. And then he actually rejoined the fight afterwards and picked up a kill. So very well played on this jungle.
Well, 45 minutes. We haven't taken a look at the items yet. As you've highlighted, so many tanky items on Freddy. GA, Spirit Visage, Randian's getting fairly mirrored on the other side. Randian's completed as well as Chain Vest and Negatron Cloak. And I completely forgot the name of it, as you do. Spectre's Cowl. Thank you, Martin. Svenskeren has just built full tank, with the exception of that Spill of the Elder Lizard. And we do have that Void Staff completed for KottenX. So if anyone gets low, he'll be looking to execute them. But KottenX hasn't really had the biggest of presence in the team fights. If you play them back, Kevin has been diving in. I don't think he's really had the support of KottenX with any sort of repel engages once Kevin's gone in.
So it is a bit of a change, at least the way you play here normally, or before you used to play Spirit, or build Spirit of the Ancient Golem as the first item. You would focus on being very tanky and just get cooldown reduction, so you could actually dive into the enemy teams with Spectral Wraith, and now also a Void Staff. He's not tanky enough to actually dive the back line. CandyPanda can take him down very, very fast. So they only have Kevin to try and go in and kill the backline of SK Gaming, which has been another issue for them. Because if they don't get to a squishy target first, and Millennium is not the team to start the fights, they have not been winning them because they can never really get to the right target.
Well, Ghostblade thrown down from CandyPanda melts a lot of KottenX's HP. And that's a great graph to show you the goal difference over time. Obviously being in favor of Millennium early on, SK regain control, Millennium regain control. It's just, it really, really has swung back and forth. Arguably on good team fights and bad team fights. It hasn't really been about the dragons or the towers, it's been about misplaying fights around the objectives. Anyways, Baron has been started by SK Gaming. KottenX has Smite available. He is going to get caught out. He flashes.
Can he get it?
Can he get it? He steals it! One for Baron! And that was just so great. KottenX with the swag Smite. Svenskeren not having a great game.
No, another best game here from Svenskeren. And KottenX, he literally just ran straight in, repelled up in the air, and perfect timing. Managed to pick up the Baron.
Felt like he was walking through a shopping center, seen Baron on sale, and said, why yes, I will smite that today. Thank you very much, Svenskeren and crew. Problem is now, Millennium are in a 5 versus 4 position for the next 40 seconds. What will the Baron cost him? Freddy's got GA available. He's tanking turret shots. He doesn't give a monkeys. CandyPanda caught by Solar Flare, and no one from Millennium is available to dive in. CandyPanda dashes away, so they've defended the middle turret. A lot of damage has been put down on the bottom turret, and SK survive for the time being.
It is so hard for SK Gaming to actually siege onto a tower when you're against Leona, Zeref again. There's so much poke potential, so much CC. If you do move close enough to hit the tower, CandyPanda was just the victim of it here. He moved in, hit the tower a little bit, and instantly Jree used all onto him, and it got him very, very low. So hard for SK Gaming to actually take down towers when Millennium have all the CC members alive here and all the burst from someone like Kerp. And therefore, Baron for Millennium, farming it out now. We're gonna look for 5, 6 items here in this game.
All right, we'll see how quickly teams can get there. A whole lot of wave clear on both sides of the pond. And it is far too early for the statement I'm about to make. I'm gonna do it anyway. 80 minutes last week.
I was about to say 8 minutes.
80 minutes was the new record set between Complexity and Curse. And you could theoretically see this game going that long thanks to the wave clear on both squads. But unlike the Complexity Curse game, this game has seen a significant amount of action more, as both SK and Millennium are willing to take and create fights, for better or for worse.
So remember last time Millennium had Baron, they actually did the same thing they're doing now. Grouped up in the mid lane, took down the mid tower you see there, just right next to Jree. Here, and just focus on trying to poke as much as possible. Somewhere it's getting even harder because the tanky items on SK Gaming, because the damage they can do back to Millennium. And therefore not a lot of success yet.
Well, CandyPanda used the culling to poke down Jree. That's going to reduce the risk of an engage, but it wasn't the greatest, and the Baron buff regen is doing its work. Jree is now back up to 3/4 hit points. KottenX is in trouble. He's going to need to repel. The flag, the drag, the slam dunk from Svenskeren. KottenX manages to flash away. Look at the solar flare! Jesiz does it again! 3 times in a row, and 3 times he dies. They trade 1 for 1, but it's a mid laner for a support. Millennium are still looking to retreat. CandyPanda is untouched. And of course, they do need to burn through the GA of Freddy. Millennium actually turning the aggression back on. KottenX is not in the fight. They just end up trading 1 for 1. Kerp forced to back away. Now CandyPanda dashes back in. Bloodwell is available for Kevin. Can they land a stun? We do see the Dark Flight coming up, and Freddy goes all the way in. We do see him. Kerp is now on the back line. Ignite is being burned. Kerp is now taken down. He didn't have his Hourglass. That's one secured for SK. We do see Candy being taken down in the back line of Svenskeren. Freddy and nRated are trying to do the work they can. KottenX is still alive. KottenX is going to get himself a double kill, and Kevin secures the ace onto Svenskeren. There's 25 seconds before Jesiz is alive, and 60 seconds for the rest. Millennium are going to look to finish.
And this time, it was the other way around. Creaton was completely left untouched. CandyPanda, he dived in to kill Kerp, and Creaton just stood right next to him and said, okay, I'm just going to smack you in the face and kill you, and Millennium might look to finish here.
3 versus 1. Jesiz is going to be up in 4 seconds time as the minions get to the base. Smite onto the siege. There is a cannon minion here for Millennium. Banshee's Veil is up for Creaton. What can Jesiz do? He's got both summoner spells. Ghost has been thrown down. He's stunned up Kevin. It feels like it's too little. He's picked up one onto KottenX. Creaton is focusing the Nexus Toad. The second one will fall shortly. Kevin is getting dropped low. Knockup doesn't manage to connect as Banshee's Veil was up. Hourglass, you finally found the button, Jesiz. He survives for a few seconds before being blown up by Creaton. Creaton can finish the game, and after 52 minutes, a swag flash. Creaton closes the game out, and Millennium take down SK Gaming.
The very, very last team fight. First, KottenX took so much poke damage. They ended up trading 1-for-1. Jesiz, he did it again. Ports in, instantly gets blown up. If he just stayed back and just kept chasing with the rest of the team instead of porting forward, SK Gaming had won the team fight. No, he jumps in, dies, and then in the very end, CandyPanda dashing forward to kill Kerp. Creaton completely untouched. Finally, it was the other way around. We've seen so many team fights this game where CandyPanda was left untouched. Now it was Creaton's turn. He wins the game for the team.
You know what? As much as you can question and call Jesiz up for doing that 3 times in the game, you really, really have to give props to Millennium because they punished it every time.
Of course, yeah, you have to land the skill shot. You have to time the skill shot 100% correct. Otherwise, he's just going to fly wide or he's going to hourglass the time.
And not once did that solar flare miss. They locked Jesiz up every single time he jumped in. And Millennium once again demonstrating with a team that is built around picking people off, they can do well. But that was a very hard-fought game. They were behind for the first 25 minutes. They were struggling to control their blue buff. And if it wasn't for... Actually, if it wasn't for Jesiz jumping in and messing up some team fights, you could argue they may not have won that game.
I 100% agree. SK Gaming looked a lot stronger in the team fights than I actually expected. Yeah. Also because CandyPanda had such a good game and they could never get to him because the early team fights from Millennium was like Kevin jump in by himself, the rest of the team kite away and just try and kill Svenskeren. So Kevin sacrificed himself for the jungler, which then meant SK Gaming could just start chasing. I mean, Italy, king of chasing. Normally Twisted Fate is a king of chasing too. Funny thing is, Jesiz actually had Banshees. However, it was down once he ported. If he had waited for the Banshee, he might have been able to pull it off because he would block their solar flare from Jree. I believe Cocoon hit him as well, however, so he probably would have died anyway.
One thing I want to ask is, what's your opinion on Italy? First time we're seeing here in Europe on 4.11. Freddy, I feel, had a good job at pushing the lanes, but is it something we'll be seeing more of?
I think we're going to see it more, especially from someone like Freddy. I think Source could maybe play too if he wants to have the same style. And I was actually impressed. The Millennium lane swap to try and shut him down early. Still picked up a lot of farm. Was very, very strong in the one-on-one in the top lane. Kevin could never touch him. So it was a good pick in that case for split pushing. And then when it came to team fights, Freddy played it really well. Trinity Force and then full tank. And he would go and take some damage back away. And then once a member was low from Millennium, he would jump back in with his Q to execute the takedown and just try and finish people off. So I feel like he played them well. But I still feel like Millennium's focus in teamfights was the biggest issue and made the Nidalee pick work even in teamfights. Despite what you hear from top laners is she's not a teamfighting champ anymore. You're just split pushing and roaming around.
Some misplays from Millennium allowing Freddy to have that headroom in terms of those team fights. You do feel that both of these teams were making some mistakes, and I think this is a very serious game to look at when we look at the playoff picture, because they're both sitting very solidly in the middle of the table, and they're both looking to get as good a seed as possible for the playoffs. Anyways, we are going to send it over to Sharks, who's standing by with both Kevin and KottenX to talk about that victory.
Thank you very much, Quickshot, indeed joined by both KottenX and Kevin here of the victorious Millennium. Congratulations, Guy. What a back and forth game. I had so much written down, I didn't even know what to ask. So let's start at the beginning. What was the strategy and pick some bans? Maybe Kevin, what did you want to get your hands on? And how surprised were you by the Nidalee pick?
So yeah, we wanted to deny the Aatrox pick from Freddy because he's just a strong player on that champion. And overall, we feel good with Aatrox as well. Of course, right now, not my favorite champion. I play different kind of champions right now, maybe tomorrow. But I wanted to pick it to deny him, basically. That was for top lane. Overall, we just wanted to go for a bit of a safe comp pick with the Xerath and the Leona.
All right, then KottenX, talk me through the beginning of that game, because you guys managed to build up a lead, and then all of a sudden, CandyPanda started racking up those kills, and they were getting back in the game.
So we tried to shut down the TF in mid lane, getting Kerp fed. And we kind of managed to do it, but we slipped out our Dragon, and he got a bit fed.
Yeah, Kevin, talk me through, as you went through that matchup with Nidalee, because she did get really strong at the end and was split pushing, was putting a lot of pressure on you guys. So how did you deal with it as the game went on?
Actually, it was a bit hysteric, or how you would call it. I don't know, it was really tense in TeamSpeak. But the laning phase, yeah, there was no laning phase, was lane swap. We thought we could get her behind. Sadly, it didn't work out quite that good. I got more behind than she did. But at the end, I felt pretty useless, to be honest. I felt really useless, and thanks to my passive and my Jree later on, I was somehow useful at least. But overall, I wouldn't like to go in such a matchup again.
Well, talking about usefulness, your Baron steal at the end, I think that might have helped in you guys winning the game. So talk me through how important that moment was and how you managed to pull it off.
I think at least we got some momentum back. I think if they would have gotten it, we would have a hard time, especially since the region is so strong in the late game. But I still think that Kerp was the point which kept us in the game.
Yeah, fantastic game by Kerp once again on Xerath. Then tomorrow you guys are playing Roccat, and that is such an important game as we look at the standings right now. So Kevin, how are you going into that match? What will be the edge?
We're gonna relax a bit, calm down with the hot weather here as well. Weather. And so yeah, we're gonna discuss tomorrow again the plan. We discuss the pick and bans. We discuss how we want to play against Roccat. We maybe have some weaknesses against for them, so we know what weaknesses they have, and we will try to abuse them.
All right. Well, very interesting. Congratulations, guys, on another victory. All right, we're gonna head back over to Quickshot and the Fish Show to take a look at the standings.
Thank you very much, Shocks and guys. We're 4 matches down in week 9, and here is how the table currently looks. With their wins today, both Alliance and Fnatic remain at the top of the standings in 1st and 2nd place, and Alliance, they stopped the rot in that losing streak.
Yeah, and then Subaru is hot on the heels in 3rd place, while Millennium and SK Gaming have now moved into a tie for 4th place, with Roccat just 1 game behind, so still very close here in the middle of the pack.
Definitely is. Of course, we do have 4 more matches coming your way Friday, as the Copenhagen Wolves face off against SK Gaming, followed by Millennium taking on Roccat.
Then we'll have the Super Hot Crew against Alliance, and we'll conclude week 9 with Gambit Gaming against Fnatic. And after those matches, the European Challenger Series quarterfinals will continue with a best-of-3 between Gamers 2 and Playing Dogs.
Yes, that is all happening Friday at 6 p.m. Central European Summer Time. That's 9 a.m. Pacific. But right now it is time for today's European Challenger Series quarterfinals with a best-of-3 match between
Forever Sinsu.
Thank you, I'm not saying that word, and SK Gaming Prime. And of course, after the Challenger, guys, stay tuned for a very, very special presentation as the North American casters take on the Doom bots of Doom. Riv, Freak, and the gang can talk the talk, but can they walk the walk? Find out as they square off against bots so nasty, they could make the Terminator crap in his pants.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to week 9 of the European League of Legends Championship Series.
My heart's beating, my hands are shaking.
Stunning, he's going to land here on towards him. Payload Shockwave does get it this time. Comes through and hooked as well. Overpower still alive, but Selfie gets the finisher.
I'm still getting the headshots, like boom, headshot.
We will kill your enemies.
Nice, nice.
Getting bubbled up, Diamond going to come in from the side. Shook is there, however. That tidal wave going down. Diamond actually going to be caught out from this one.
Dum dum dee dum dum doobie dum dum.
We do see Candy being taken down in the background as Svenskeren, Freddy and nRated are trying to do the work they can. KottenX is still alive. KottenX is going to get himself a double kill.
What kind of... It's reckless.
First kill secured by Reckless. We do see that's a double kill as he sidesteps the cocoon, looking for the triple. Reckless is on the triple. He's looking for one shot. That's the quadra. He's looking for